How is there a new trans holiday every 2 weeks or so? I don't know. They got to keep it going. Yeah, they got to keep money, or they got to keep it going. I mean, it takes a lot to convince us that up is down and black is white.
Armand, is your bank displaying the progress flag? Because you don't have to worry about those new bank fees every time you, I don't know, do a minor transaction, because look, the progress flag. Oh, and there it is on the sidewalk in front of the bank. Or maybe, maybe the train you take is displaying the progress flag, and they've cut down some routes. It's a shell game for sure. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and this notion that somehow it's, be nice, it's respectful. It's like, at the end of the day, this is prioritizing men's feelings and desires over our realities. And it's not a innocent act. There are real serious consequences of allowing this falsehood to take root and spread.
Yeah, totally. Think twice before you use vanity pronouns. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think if you want to give away your sovereignty of thought.
Yeah. So it's this idea that we have to validate gender identity at all costs, even when it conflicts with fairness, safety, privacy, everything. And people still, this is the power of language, or of not wanting to be, I guess, considered transphobic, how powerful that is. It doesn't matter how big and burly and how obvious these guys are who want to, who say they have a female, they identify as women, playing on women's sports. Because I really thought at some point maybe that would be the shift, because people would see that and be like, Jesus. But no.
It's
going to be that the women are going to have to start refusing to play.
Right.
And we'll cover that next time. There's a lot of sports stuff that we'll cover.
Yes, there's a lot of women doing that now.
Update. But just the fact that, and time after time, when some of the athletes, young women in college or younger, or start to stand up for themselves, every single freaking time the institution sides with the dude.
Absolutely.
And how important it is to be inclusive and understanding and all this bullshit.
And that's that little prefix doing a lot of work there.
Yeah.
Trans. I was arguing with some guy on Twitter, and he was telling me that it makes so much sense to use trans prefix in that way. But regardless of that, that's how that little prefix is doing so much work, because now there's a whole protected category. If people just stop saying that prefix, don't say it, use it for chemistry, use it for other things, don't use it for people pretending to be the opposite sex, because they're not a monolith. The girl who wants to be a boy so she doesn't get macked on in school by all the pervy kids is not the same as the guy who wants to be macked on, and that's why he's pretending to be a woman. That's not the same. So just don't use trans. Trans is just say men in a dress, men pretending to be women.
Well, and we have to get back to getting our language back. It's like there's certain words that we're not going to apply to men.
Right.
We're not.
Right.
And they can cry and whine all they want. Right. But woman is ours, mother is ours, sister is ours, aunt is ours, breastfeeding is ours, menstruation is ours, childbirth is ours.
Yeah.
Menopause is ours. Misogyny, unfortunately, that's ours. It's all
trans misogyny doesn't exist. Give up trans, give up gender dysphoria. I don't even believe that's a thing. I've sent you that clip of the doctor talking about it. It's not just the pronouns, the language. Don't use any language from the cult. Okay, don't use their language at all. That's my.
And it's hard when it's there's the social cost and the name. But it's like if we continue to use the discourse that got us into this mess, we're never going to get out of it. Well,
I would never
we'll
want
get
someone
about it.
to
We'll
do
get
the
out of it
job.
much slower, because slower. Sorry, I can't talk anymore. I think
Right.
because it could be that the what nipped this in the bud is when more lawsuits start coming up from the so-called trans kids
Yeah.
who get into their late teens and early 20s and are like, "What the actual rigmarole?"
Right.
So we'll see. So because of the insurance companies stop, but in terms of so in terms of social norms and just basic rules of the road,
Hmm.
and where you know just like just basic things like the women's room is for women, women's sports is for women, women's
Yeah.
prisons are for women.
Yeah. That's right.
We're not going to call ourselves really dehumanizing
No,
things for the
I'm not
comfort
going to be
of
sis. I'm
a
not going to be
handful of
she, her.
people that for whatever reason.
No.
Yeah, and just for the feminists out there, the trans maids, the feminist trans maids who really for some reason buy into, I don't know how much they buy into it or what's going on here, but I would just say that misogyny historically has set, the idea they would complain about centering men or they probably call it patriarchal values now. They probably wouldn't say men. They probably say patriarchal values. That's the issue. And that somehow from patriarchy stem this idea that there's men and women. I don't
Right.
know. Stem this idea that females are women and men and whatever. So in devaluing women's concerns, but in this case, it's just insisting that men who identify as women must be fully integrated, regardless of the expense that comes, the cost that it makes to women, and regardless of the fact that it's totally imaginary and subjective.
Any
So
any
but
feminist.
I don't know how the feminists can and there's a lot of them who
Well,
will
the
say
thing
trans
is
women are women, or who will say trans women are women in every way that matters. It's like, what?
right. So there's a bunch of feminists now who have
Okay.
diluted the term and they've changed everything. But here's a good little trick. If a woman calling herself a feminist is doing things that men love, then she's probably not a real feminist. She's just calling herself that for attention. Honestly, feminism has never thrilled the men. The suffragettes, weren't popular.
Well,
Any
especially if you're
feminist.
doing stuff that makes guys in dresses happy. That's
Yeah,
probably
no, you're not a real feminist, okay? If I
might
mean,
want to think about
feminism
it.
doesn't exist to upset men, but the fact of the matter is, real feminism, often does upset men. They get upset about it. So if you see a woman who calls herself a feminist, but she's actually thrilling men, doing what they want, prioritizing men above women, then she's not a feminist. I don't care what she calls herself. Just like the men that call themselves women who complain about trans misogyny, I don't care what they call themselves. I'm not going to play along with it. Okay. Like there's such a
Yeah.
thing as reality and there's such a thing as fantasy. You can be a fantasy feminist. You can be a fantasy woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not into it. Okay.
Yeah.
But for people who are
No,
confused,
and the idea they would they would say maybe patriarchal entitlement. Maybe that I don't know what the word games are now.
they say all sorts of
But back
nonsense.
in the day, generalized male entitlement historically, but now allowing males to identify into womanhood and access our space and rights. How is that not the ultimate reinforcement of male entitlement? It
No,
suggests that men can not only dominate women in traditional, regular ways, but now they can intrude our space and redefine what it means to be a woman or a mother or a
no, they're
sister
serving patriarchy. They're
or a
serving
lesbian. I forgot
patriarchy.
about the lesbians.
You
It's
know, the master's
insane.
tools can't take down the master's house. Who said that? Audre Lorde? The master's tools can't be used to take down the master's house. These women are just, they're
Mm-hmm.
not helping. Oh my gosh, you're frozen, or am I frozen?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's frozen.
Yeah, because in effect, it's they get to participate now, telling into what women are, how we define ourselves, what it means to be female, what it doesn't. It's so blatant.
Yeah,
But they really, the head tilt, and they just like feeling pretty, and
right?
they just really feel alive when they're in their
Sure.
female persona. And it's like, whatever, that has
And then they
something to do
put
with
on,
us. That has
right?
nothing to do with us. It has
No,
nothing to do with us.
no, no, no. And it's
That is
true.
a completely male experience.
You'll see a bunch of women validating these men on the internet. Some guy will put some lipstick on and be like, I'm just looking cute, might delete. And the women will be like, oh my God, that looks so much better on you than on me. You're so great. You'll see lots of women. That's
Yeah.
not, that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that women are the ones who are driving this story. That means that women are just being nice. They're doing what they've always
I mean,
done.
let's not turn us into angels. There's some people who do. There could be sin. There's. I would agree with you that the driving force of this is not that, but there's some serious enablement.
There is totally. There's always
So,
enablement.
but the
Wasn't it
driving
Simone de
force
Beauvoir who said that?
isn't
There's
so-called
always
trans men. They're not the driving force in this.
no, no, no,
No,
no,
but
no,
we're going to
no.
get to that at some point. One of our updates in terms of who's to blame for all this, because there's a lot of another gift of this is that it gives people a reason to stomp on feminism as such,
Right, right.
So
You have to be
and so
careful,
we're gonna look into that and try to
right?
strongman that argument to have an idea
Totally,
about unpack like how it is that part of how it is that we got here
for sure.
and the role
There's
of the go ahead.
there are some people who believe that sex is real, but they also believe that women should be sat at home, pregnant and taking care of children and not go to university. Like I found that out the hard way, that some of the people I was tactically aligning with on this single issue actually think that, women shouldn't take university places away from men. So, you have to watch out.
Yeah.
You have to watch out.
Well, no, and it's just we don't, but we can't. It doesn't do anybody any good, I think, to be like, oh, feminism's perfect, and everyone who says the feminist is perfect, and there's no, it's all, and whenever women do something that we don't like, that
No, well,
somehow a
it's a
man's to
system,
blame. I
right?
think it just depends,
It's a
but I
system of
mean,
analysis, just like any
yeah,
other. There's good things and
yeah,
bad
yeah,
things, right? You don't have to agree
yeah,
with all of it. Who buys in
no,
part and parcel to every single thing? But we
yeah,
have to give it the same sort of respect that we
yeah,
give the other
yeah.
kinds of.
But Judith Butler, she'll get a couple of minutes.
Well, Butler.
But it's not all. I mean, it's not like yeah. Um, okay, so let's wrap up.
Okay,
Anything? Oh, I guess I should. I'll just. Maybe I'll put this up.
yeah, put it up.
Um,
I
because I
like to
didn't.
see
But
what
there's.
you've got.
Oh, fuck.
Ah, that's such a great article.
Yeah, there's another article that came out in 2019 called "Pronouns Are Hypnol," and I think it's on Fair Play, but the author was Barraquer, I guess. And what's interesting is that this was first she put it up on Mom's Net and it was taken
Mm,
down.
yeah,
And then she put it up on Medium and it was also taken down.
it's that
And
powerful. They have to censor her.
yeah, but now they have it on Fair Play for Women. If you just type in pronouns or hypnol in Google, you can see it. But it's basically making the argument that no, it's not harmless. It's not just being nice, and that this is that they change our perception. If we're using she her for a he him, that we're changing we're every time we're whittling away our perception, we're lowering our defenses. It causes us to react differently and to kind of alter the reality that's in front of us. So, and they're meant to. They numb us, they confuse us, they remove our instinctive safety responses, and they work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a great article.
It is good. And there is the psychology thing to it that if you try to, it's just the if yeah, it's just there's a reason why there's and this is the thing, and people want to say it's internalized, like, heteronormative patriarchy, some bullshit, when it's hard to use use female pronouns for man. There's a
Right.
reason why it's hard for us to do it.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's contradictory, it's incongruent, it doesn't match, and we know that it doesn't, so we're trying to fight. We're trying to fight both our kind of like our unconscious kind of, I don't know, we call it like, just evolutionary eye and reflexes, and also our mind.
Totally.
And the
Totally.
idea that that's something we need to be doing in mass is crazy. And if
Totally.
we and if we let the and again, if it can happen with this,
Yeah.
I mean,
There's so many traps, so
what
many language.
most of us go along with.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's so many ways they catch us with language. Even heteronormativity. It makes you go like, what? How did evolution happen if
Well,
we
and
didn't
go
have
sorry, go ahead.
heteronormativity? No, I'm trying to speak it without using the words that would enrage people. But how did we evolve to this point? How did we get out of the primordial ooze and crawl out of that, and without thank you, Armand, without heterosexual reproduction?
Yeah. Well,
What
and
does
there's
normal mean?
and this idea that it is the norm. Most of us, the vast majority of us, historically and will continue to be, unless there's something really odd going on in the water, heterosexuals. There's a heterosexual preference, and that's how we reproduce. Yeah. So,
So now we've got
it's
people like
like
me scared of saying it.
like, oh, heteronormativity. It's like, well, there are norms. Now, it doesn't mean that what's outside the norm you have to like be like, wow,
No.
I mean, but there are norms. There's like the average height, there's all kinds of things.
That's right.
And this idea that it makes any sense to decenter what they want to call heteronormativity is stupid.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't look at how the forms it takes. Doesn't mean that it has to be, a little, like, the nuclear family from 1920. I mean, there's variety, but, there's only one way so far the babies get made.
No, just don't. Yeah. It's so silly. It
We
gives,
can't just pop them out and leave them on the, like a turtle. So
it's one of these things that arms both sides. It arms the radicals on one side and it arms the radicals on the other side. One side gets to be like, oh, you think heteronormativity is good. The other side, you think heteronormativity is a thing, and they fight each other. Just ignore it. Just use your brains, people, and stay away from these kind of culture war language issues. I really think that's the next thing.
Well, I think it's also why there's so many straight people who want to say they're queer. It's like, well, I don't want to be born heteronormative. Right. No, I'm queer. It's like, dude, you sleep, but you have a boyfriend and you're a woman, or you have a girlfriend. How queer are you? Just the hair?
And then there are all these gay men and lesbians
pronouns.
People used to beat me up. People used to call me queer and beat me up because it was a slur. And now you have like Miley Cyrus married to some Hollywood hunk calling herself queer, and it's an insult. It's an insult to them. Ugh, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Fight the power.
Right? Fight the power. Be aware of who the power is. Right? Like recognize the power and don't play along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason why it takes so much effort to call a male by female pronouns and vice versa. So
yeah,
think about that.
Right.
Anyway, so on this International Pronoun Day, like I said, I think the way to celebrate is to use them correctly.
Yeah.
And push back to the extent you're comfortable against this madness, that it's okay to say no, I'll stick with 2 and 2 equaling 4. Right. And I'll go with my own conscience and my own mind and my own perception. Thanks.
Right.
Live, laugh, love.
That's the way to do it.
Anyway, thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. It was fun again.
It's been, I'm going to you're starting your day and I'm ending mine. So
right.
So we have these kind of, so if there's any kind of weird, if the vibe gets, it's just like I'm the end of the day vibe.
We brought in the dawn here, right? Like it was dark and now it's bright. Well, it's not bright, it's kind of glum, but
anyway, thank you, Tanya. See you next time.
Thank you. Okay, bye, my love. Bye, everyone. Bye, our mom.
Bye. All right, so this has been our weekly sex, gender, war update, International Pronoun Day special, when we looked at the issue that pronouns are not just a small issue, and it's not about being kind and respectful to accommodate wrong sex pronouns or missexing. I would say that misgendering isn't the problem, missexing is.